Have you ever noticed how a small thing you stop doing can quietly change everything that follows? Not all struggles arrive with noise or warning. Some begin when a simple habit fades and days continue on as if nothing has shifted at all. This is about that quiet kind of change and how returning to a beginning can slowly set things right. Before we get started, don't forget to like and subscribe. Your support truly means a lot. Ulrich lived beside a slow river where the water curved gently through reeds and stone. Each morning, before the sun rose fully, he walked from his home to his workshop near the bank. For many years, his first act had always been the same. He would rinse his hands in a shallow bowl of water before touching the clay. It was a small pause, barely noticed, but at once guided the rest of his day. Over time, that pause disappeared. Ulrich still entered the workshop at dawn, but instead of reaching for water, he sat down and pressed his dry hands into the clay. The earth resisted him slightly, though he pushed forward. The wheel turned, and the river outside flowed on, unchanged. The first pot he shaped each day looked fine. Its sides stood even, its rim smooth. He set it on the shelf where light fell across it and moved on to the next without stopping. As the hours passed, thin lines appeared along the surface as the clay dried. They were easy to miss. Ulrich did not look closely. His hands were already busy again. Day after day, the same pattern repeated. Dry hands, steady pressure, quiet shelves filling one by one. By evening, he stacked the pots carefully, turning the faint cracks away from sight. The workshop grew more crowded, yet something inside it felt heavier. Villagers passed along the river path and glanced in through the open door. They saw rows of pottery and a man at work. No one spoke. Ulrich did not call out. His movements remained firm, though his shoulders tightened as the days went on. When rain came, the air inside the workshop grew damp. The clay dried more slowly and the cracks grew deeper. One afternoon, as Ulrich lifted a pot from the wheel, a long split opened along its side. He froze, holding it still. After a moment, he set it on the shelf with the others, turning it just enough to hide the break. That night, long after the path had emptied, Ulrich returned alone. He lifted the pots from the shelves and lined them on the floor. Nearly every one carried a mark of strain. He sat among them in silence as the river whispered outside. Nothing was thrown away, nothing was fixed. He simply stayed until the light faded. The next morning, Ulrich arrived earlier than usual. He stood in the doorway and looked at the wheel, the shelves, the scattered clay. Then he picked up the empty bowl and walked down to the river. Kneeling, he filled it and watched the water settle, reflecting sky and reeds and his own still face. Back inside, he placed the bowl beside the wheel and rinsed his hands. The coolness slowed him. When he touched the clay this time, it moved more easily. The wheel turned at a gentler pace. He shaped the first pots slowly, pausing to adjust his grip. When he set it on the shelf, he left it facing the light. The days that followed were quieter, but different. Each morning began at the river. Each shaping began with wet hands. Some pots still leaned, others dried unevenly. When cracks appeared, Ulrich noticed them early and worked the clay again before it hardened. Fewer vessels filled the shelves, but each one felt earned. The same actions repeated day after day. Walk to the water, rinse the hands, shape with care. Once a pot collapsed beneath his fingers. Ulrich stopped, pressed the clay together again, rinsed his hands once more, and began anew. The day continued without hurry. As weeks passed, the river lowered with the season. Inside the workshop, the shelves filled slowly with pots that held their form. Cracks became rare, and when they came, they were met with patience instead of avoidance. Ulrich no longer turned his work away from the light. One evening, he carried a finished pot outside and filled it with water from the river. The surface held steady. No drops escaped. He watched the reflection settle inside, calm and unbroken. He returned the pot to the front of the shelf where the morning light would reach it first. The workshop felt lighter, not because it was full, but because each piece belonged where it stood. People along the path began to pause more often. They saw the same man, the same motions repeated each day with quiet care. Nothing was announced, nothing was explained. The change lived in the steadiness Nai's hands and the soundness of the clay. Some habits are small enough to forget, yet strong enough to shape everything that follows. Returning to them does not happen all at once, but day by day with the same simple action repeated until it becomes a foundation again. Perhaps there is something you once began each day with, something small and steady, waiting for you to return. Comment below and share which small habit you feel ready to begin again. Thanks for watching.